This is R2D Tech, and today we're going to be talking about whether foldable phones are really revolutionary or if they're just a bit of a gimmick, so stay tuned. So now that a lot of foldable phones have been released, mainly from Samsung, a lot of people are drawing similarities between how revolutionary the original iPhone was and how revolutionary foldable phones are going to be. And I have my doubts about this, so I'm going to talk about it today. So before the iPhone came around, you had hundreds of different phones with unique styles and designs. Some were flip out phones with hinges, some had keyboards that slid out, some had a display on the top and a keyboard on the bottom, like with the Blackberries. But pretty much all of them had tiny displays, which was probably the most annoying thing about them. Now, when the iPhone came around, obviously it was massively popular, and I believe the main reason for this is that it brought together loads of new technologies that no one had really seen or used before and put them all in a relatively consumer-friendly package. Now, obviously, it was still a really expensive phone, but still within reach of a lot of people. Uh, which was another reason for its popularity, I think. So, in terms of the features that it brought to the table, you had a much larger display than pretty much any phone before it. It was a touchscreen display as well, which was a technology that most people had never even seen, let alone used. And also it had a much more intuitive software than pretty much any phone before it as well. So I think a combination of these features is what made it really popular, as well as obviously Apple's marketing. It's also clear the impact that the original iPhone has had on the industry. Pretty much all new phones that come out nowadays are to some extent a clone of that original iPhone. You've got a big screen on the front and then some metal or glass on the back. When you think about what you would really want when you're building a phone, you want a big screen on the front and maybe some buttons on the side. Basically, you want as little hardware on the exterior of the phone that the user can interact with. This idea means that you can continually improve the phone through software without worrying too much about how it's going to interact with the exterior hardware like keyboards. This idea that you can continually improve software literally killed companies. It made all the other phone designs obsolete because they just couldn't compete with the features in terms of the software that the iPhone had to offer. So I believe a combination of these things is the reason why the iPhone was so popular and revolutionary. So let's look at what the foldable phones have to offer in terms of revolutionary features. So really what foldable phones offer right now is the ability to have a pretty large display in a smaller form factor. And that's it at the moment. All you're getting is a larger display that you can fold up. And to be honest, I don't think this is such a game changer because I believe that most people are pretty happy with the size of modern phone displays without having a larger one. Obviously, some people would make use of that at the moment for reading books and stuff like that, but I don't believe it's such a big improvement over modern phone displays on normal phones. Another problem with these foldable phones is that the displays are incredibly fragile. They scratch really easily, and if you press too hard down on them, they will just break, which is not ideal to have on a phone which is in pretty constant use. So right now, it definitely seems like the hassle of owning a foldable phone clearly outweighs the benefits that you get from having one. One feature that I think could bring a lot of functionality to foldable phones is the inclusion of a stylus. We've already seen that on the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Fold, you do get a stylus included, which you can use for note-taking or drawing or anything you can think of really. And that I think is a really useful feature, especially on a tablet of that size. However, I still believe there is a problem with durability. If you press too hard with the stylus, it will damage the display, which is still a pretty massive problem, I think. Now, there are rumors that Samsung will be bringing out a new foldable phone with a stylus included, which could be useful for many people. However, the thing is, with the original iPhone, the new features that it brought were applicable to everyone. Everyone wanted a larger display with which you could manipulate with your fingers, as well as intuitive software to go with it. However, not everyone is going to want to use a stylus on a phone, even a foldable phone. Not everyone's going to want to draw or take notes. On top of that, even though the foldable phones have larger displays than most modern normal phones, I don't think they're large enough really to be taking notes or drawing on. Now, if you think about the person who might want to take notes or draw, they're probably going to be an artist or a student who wants to take notes in a lecture. Now, I imagine that person would definitely go and buy a tablet instead. You're going to get a much larger display, more reliability in terms of durability, and also it's most likely going to be much cheaper as well. I imagine there are a small number of people who really do need to take notes on the go, or maybe they just want a larger display to read or game or anything like that, but I imagine that they're definitely going to be in the minority. So what I would say about foldable phones is that the technology is incredible and it would be really nice to have one, but it's definitely not something that you need. I imagine some people could really make use of it. However, there are definitely not enough people to make it a revolutionary buy. To the people who want a device to read on, buy a Kindle. That's it from this video. If you liked it, please press the thumbs up button. If you loved it, please consider subscribing.